How's it going, EF? Troy Casey here to tell you about some awesome beers that we have for our April 2022 release. Potentially one of the best and most diverse releases we've had in a long time. We got a little bit of everything today, so let's get right into it. First up, Fruit Stand Preserves Black Raspberry. This was asked for by the membership and we answered. This is our Saison base beer, aged with black raspberries at a rate of close to 4 pounds per gallon from the Pacific Northwest. Just liquid jam in this glass. We made a very small amount of it, and so we're pumped on it though. I mean, super jammy, big black raspberry characteristics. Medium acidity, viscous in your mouth. It's perfect. This beer was, you guys asked for it in the membership survey, and so we made it happen for you today. It's a really, really nice beer. Next up, Funky Blender Pear. So this is our first release of using Colorado pears. These pears came from Paonia, Colorado. One of our growers reached out to us at the end of last season and said they had some pears and if we would be interested. Having never worked with pears before, we jumped at the idea. Normally for these last 8 years, by the time we get to the end of summer, we've used our last mature barrel stock for grapes. Since we weren't able to get any grapes last year, we had some stock left, and so we jumped at the opportunity to use pears. So this one is close to like 2014 fruit levels, about 1 pound per gallon of the pears, and so it's a really nice balance between the actual pears and the base beer Funky Blender. We previewed this beer a couple months ago at one of our vintage tastings, and the EF members, they know who they are. She said it was the best beer she's ever had, and so I was pumped on that. So a great balance of pear in the nose, but and then the subtlety of the Funky Blender as well. Pear hits you up front in the taste, finishes with that Funky Blender, medium acidity. If you've never had a pear sour before, and honestly I don't know if I have, before we made this one, you're gonna like it for sure. Don't let it scare you if you're worried about not liking perry or pear cider. This one is all beer, but with some really, really nice pear candy notes to it. Next up, we've got Funky Blender Preserves Sour Balaton Cherry. This was made with Balaton cherries that came from Utah this year. Again, so with some bad weather in 2020, following into 2021, we weren't able to get any Colorado sour cherries, and so we found some in Utah that we used for this blend. So about 4 pounds per gallon of the sour Balaton cherries. Just big cinnamon notes in the nose. Just classic Balaton characteristics that if you've been with us for a while that you know and love. We haven't done one of these beers in a while. This is the only, besides a couple rosés, I think this is the only cherry beer that, like preserves beer, that we're gonna be doing from the 2021. These are the only cherries that we actually used from 2021. I mean, that's medium to low acidity, I would say. Just big cherry pie characteristics, complex funk, very drinkable still, but just kind of a treat for the cherry lovers out there. Team No Fruit, what's up? We got wet hop Saison right here. We hadn't done a wet hop beer in a long time, and so we got some wet hops from High Wire Hops in Paonia, Colorado this year. So we brewed Saison, and then we steeped it with a bunch of fresh, wet Colorado Cascade hops. Kind of a throwback to some of the low end that we used to do with some wet hopping. And so this one has been aging for almost 4 months, and it's got amazing foam stability. Just got that really nice wet hop characteristic in the nose, the grassy, but still floral and citrusy Cascade addition. This was a single puncheon that we packaged, so we only did one puncheon of this batch, and we're big fans of it. So awesome, fresh Cascade hops in the nose, but it still smells like it's been cellared for a couple years. After seeing what some of these dry hop beers that we've done in the past from the last vintage session, this beer tastes like it's had some age on it already, which is really nice. I don't like them when you do some dry hop sours that are kind of, they're too young, you need to let the hops fade out. And so this one kind of came in perfectly with what we're hoping for. medium acidity, so much of that classic Saison esters and funk. So Team No Fruit, this one you're definitely gonna wanna check out. It was the only wet hop beer that we did from 2021, so check out that one. Last but not least, we have One Key, Peach and Apricot. For those who've been with us for a while, a couple years ago, we started out this brand called One Key. It came about when John and Eric and I and Emily were in Belgium, and we were trying to figure out what to do with these basically quadruple fruited beers. So they're about 8 to 9 pounds per gallon of apricots and peaches. We've taken a beer that's aged on 4 pounds per gallon apricots, and then we transfer that to another 4 pounds per gallon of peaches. So we were trying to figure out what to call it, and we did the math because we were in Belgium with grams to liters, and it's about 1,000 grams of fruit per liter. And John came up with the idea to call it One Key because he's from Florida, and he used to live that life. And so this one, some of those old One Keys used to be very acidic, but because of these apricots that we got last year from California, these organic apricots, which came out with very low acidity, this beer is super drinkable, medium acidity, a big, great balance between the apricots and the peaches. Perfectly carved. When I opened this one up, it had the loudest pop of all of these. Very drinkable, a great balance between peach and apricot. There's one is not dominating the other. They're both very harmonious and integrated into the beer and into that structure. So the shop opens up on Monday. Hope you all have a great weekend. Maybe we'll see some of you up here for the vintage tasting on Saturday. We've got some IPAs in the shop and some lagers as well, so check that out. Thanks, EF. Have a great rest of the month, and let's go spring.